If I ask you when was the last time you got jump scared by any movie or film involving a dinosaur, most of you would say something before 2010. And this doesn't just apply to the Jurassic franchise but most dinosaur films in general. Sure, some absolutely horrifying looking creatures have been made as of late, but they weren't used right. How do I put it? Alright, you know how you would talk smack if you saw a ghost or something in broad daylight, but if it was at night and you knew it was there but out of sight, you would probably shit yourself. Yeah, it's something like that. It's about the utilization of the thing that's meant to scare you. After Jurassic Park 3, we haven't gotten anything like that since. I guess you could possibly stretch it and say that first Jurassic World movie still captured some of the aspects, but everything after just failed for the most part. The horror aspect or finding dinosaurs scary trope has been traded for more action and human relationships. I'm not saying the new movies are bad, well, some are, but for the most part, they're pretty good. They just have a different theme. Jurassic World may not be as scary as Jurassic Park, but seeing a dude and a raptor fight other dinosaurs in sync is probably the most cool thing you'll ever see. So yeah, I'm not saying the new direction is bad, I'm just giving you a little nostalgia of sorts in this video when it comes to the first 3 movies. And before I get too far into it, consider hitting that subscribe button for more content like this, and join the Discord if you want to have any discussions or take part in events we have on the server. So one weird comparison I can make with this topic is the Fast and the Furious saga. Parts 1 to 7 were mostly about cars and 7 is pushing it. 5 to 6 did start to implement more of a deviation from the original, but hey, for the most part they still made the movies about a specific topic. But after 7 or 6, these dudes turned into world guardians. I probably sound like an old head, but why are we now in outer space trying to save the world? Anyway, the Jurassic franchise has gone through something a little similar. Also for some of the newer movies, they are good for the most part. Let's start off with some animals, the raptors for example. In the novels, these things were seen as demons to the cast, and they were to the characters in the Jurassic Park movies as well, especially Jurassic Park and The Lost World. We had tense scenes that would make us hold our breath. Take the kitchen scene for example. I remember being around 9 and watching that spoon fall on the floor, which made my heart fall as well. And the one jumping out at Ellie had me on the edge of my seat. The same goes for the raptors in the other 2 movies, with Jurassic Park 3 doing something a little different but still letting us know these things were not to be messed with, by having one crush a man's spine and then use him as bait. Jeez. In contrast, it's fair to say not a soul is really scared of the raptors in Jurassic World. Not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, because raptors being able to fight for people and even risking their lives for humanity goes hard. I mean, a guy having raptors fight a death machine on his behalf while he shoots a rifle is almost as manly as Chuck Norris himself. There is no questioning that the Jurassic World velociraptors like Blue are the biggest and the strongest ever created, but even with that being the case, I'm sure most of you feel more uncomfortable having something like the big one look at you. Blue and the other new gen raptor subspecies are used to fight other more dangerous dinosaurs or sometimes even act as hitmen, but they aren't put in a similar setting like the Jurassic Park raptors. These things used to rip off human body parts to strike fear in any survivors left, while others grab you by the skull and break your neck when you are no longer of use. The newer gen raptors can do that too and can kill you, but most of the time it's just them bonding with people. And how could I forget what they did to these guys in Rebirth? They nerfed these things so much. The big one took on Rexy by herself, but the raptors in Rebirth ran away after seeing their packmate get jumped by something similar in size. Also, for those of you who watch dinosaur analog horror animations, haven't you noticed that like 90% of the animations include dinosaurs from Jurassic Park and not any of the Jurassic World movies? The OG raptors, T-Rex and Dilophosaurus are just some examples of what are commonly seen on those tapes, while the crazy looking hybrids that are meant to be more OP aren't. Some channels like Chronoticon do a good job of showing events that happened but were off screen. Things such as Arnold's final moments before he was torn to shreds and Buck's rampage in San Diego where he escaped. The way the T-Rexes were used back then was also different. I understand that things have to change up once in a while, but damn, this was a big jump. Again, it's cool to see big dinosaur fights and all that, but after Jurassic Park 3, no other megaceropod would make you skip a heartbeat. Out of all the Jurassic World movies, the first one had the most terrifying megaceropod, being the Indominus. And again, it wasn't so much because of her design, even though it would make me run for the hills if I saw it. It was the scenes in which she was shown. Tense moments like when she first broke out and was looking for Owen, along with it directly over the raptor daddy and Claire. These scenes were tense because the thought of an almost 9-ton biological weapon that's intelligent enough to implement torture hovering straight over you isn't a nice thought. The other movies had a lot of these, like when Rexy first broke out and was up in Grant's face forcing him not to breathe too hard is one for the books, coupled with other scenes like the T-Rex entering the tent right above Sarah. Hell, even outside of the T-Rex, things like the Spinosaurus went down in history as the most hateful dinosaurs this franchise has ever created. Not only is it absurdly powerful, but it also hated our kind so much that it was malicious. Those things straight up walked behind these people and waited for the phone to ring. Then it just stood there and let them soak up the fear. Mind you, could have rushed them at any time with it being so quiet, but it wanted them to see him before he started chasing them. And his design was crazy, but not that crazy. I'll just go out on a limb and say almost all the hybrids we've seen in Jurassic World look great, even the Scorpius. It wasn't pretty, but It was the average sleep paralysis demon look, which gets a thumbs up from me. And then there's some that just shouldn't have been made. Boy, were you even born! But it seems now that every single movie's main highlight is going to be another hybrid or an outrageously mythical looking dinosaur. I get that it's a hitch, but it would be nice to see something a little different. The newest movie had hybrids and mutants, but also included a T-Rex, which from the trailer would imply that it's a main part of the movie. Well, it was not. The trailer itself was like half of its screen time. And while the Rex was the most powerful and could move terrifyingly fast while swimming, they kinda did it dirty by giving the family an unforeseen amount of plot armor. The same with Duncan. The fact that he survived after the D-Rex was mere feet away from him is just madness. Shout out to all the people responsible for the mutant's intro at the end though. Having it appear out of the haze with a helicopter in its mouth is definitely a top 10 moment. Despite this, it wasn't the scary movie we were expecting. We got dinosaurs with abilities from their novel counterparts, but they don't have the same impact. The entire movie was more action-packed instead of horror. Not to mention they had a dinosaur expert called the Mosasaurus and Quetzalcoatlus a dinosaur. Our boy Grant would never make such a mistake. I think if the people who directed the first 3 movies took over the newer Jurassic World films, the movies would definitely be more toe-curling. Aside from the Indoraptor slowly crawling up to Macy and tricking the guard, there weren't really much scenes that really showed this animal as it was supposed to be. A big part of this was because it was shown in full view too early or in full view at first. At the start of Jurassic Park we get to see just how powerful the Velociraptor is, yet they didn't show the full body, which had you hooked to see what they would look like later on. Which was when they escaped, and Rexy's introduction was her hand slowly sliding across the electrical fence when the power went down. The same rule applies to the other big hitters in the other 2 movies, like the Rex is popping up beside the trailer when everyone else heard footsteps, and the Spinosaurus shown to us in a quick glance at first as it grabs Cooper. Things like the Scorpius somewhat did this, but even though it's probably the most terrifying in terms of looks, the way how they kept letting it spear the Nublar 6 at different moments for one reason or the other took away from it a bit, in my opinion. To be honest, the Jurassic World movies were all about making a crazier dinosaur or producing cool fights. That would make the Rexes look weak. Most of the big guys don't really target people, which kinda makes sense. The humans, as a matter of fact, are usually on some FBI field agent-like mission, while the dinosaurs are just doing their own thing with each other. But I think we all can agree the Minion was the worst of the set. The pacing, the plot, and even the dinosaur scenes were not it. Let's not forget what they did to my boy Zeb. Despite him looking like a dragon, he was definitely the most realistic megaceropod there in terms of behavior, despite the director saying he was like the Joker for whatever reason. And to top it all off, they killed him off by putting together the most nonsensical collab I've ever seen. If I had to pick the most terrifying scene from the franchise, it would be the raptors digging under the fence in The Lost World. This scene where the animals try to cut off every escape route was a big one. In second would be the raptors suddenly popping up after Amanda almost fell off the tree. Before Odesky was killed by the male raptor, we all assumed they just mauled him and left him on the floor without any other thought. But when I figured out they purposely crippled that man just to kill the rest of the cast, and that was it for me. Hell, even Jurassic Park made a small Dilophosaurus seem somewhat scary with the way it killed Netri, and back then the herbivores also stood on business. These things would fight back and some would even hunt you down, if you were considered a threat, like the Stegosaurus. Imagine seeing a 5-ton tank run towards you at full speed. I could go on and on comparing the 2 different sections of the franchise, but I think you get my point. The old films were more horror-faced and implemented an atmosphere where humans were seen as prey and were hunted, while the Jurassic World films focused more on action. And just to be clear, this is just my opinion, and I don't think the Jurassic World movies aside from Dominion are bad. I'd be a terrible liar if I said I didn't like Jurassic World. Just a few months after it was released, I saved up just to buy one of those big models that would roar when you pull its arm. But my point still stands that the first 3 originals are unmatched when it comes to hair-raising scenes. And to be honest, it's likely we'll never get to see something like that again, even with 2 more movies rumored to be made. But knowing the internet, a good chunk will disagree. So let me know in the comments which generation was better when it came to making you close your eyes for the scene, and drop the scene you found the most disturbing in the comments. So that's just about it for this one folks. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video.